This is going to be a quick video. It's for a playlist started by Emma's over at Island Metal Forge on the Blacksmithing Community. And there's been a bunch of videos put into it already, and I hope to contribute in a little bit. I don't want to repeat a lot of the things that everyone's already said, because, I mean, it's been said very eloquently and passionately, and I don't feel I have as good of a standing to say some of the things, simply because I'm relatively new to the community. I wanted to make this video because, really, as far as blacksmithing goes, the hard part for me is not learning new skills, making the tools, or any of that. That's my bread and butter. That's what I feel like I've been doing my whole life in one way or another, and certainly preparing to do. The hard part for me is actually the socialization, is the community. I tend to be a very reserved person. I put on a good face of being very social, but mostly I like to do things myself, and it's a lot of effort to reach outside, beyond myself to get help for things. If you happen to see the video I put up last of making an anvil, I spent probably a day and a half working out ways that I could quench that 85-pound chunk of steel all by myself with no help, levers and winches, and I did eventually give up on that, and that was very good. So count this video as another step in trying to force myself to do the thing that I know I'm the least good at. Rather than repeat all the other amazing, wonderful praise and well-deserved praise of the community just by saying how great it is, let me give you two short anecdotes. The first is a very simple one. I go to a event called Penzik. It's an SCA event, if you know what that is. I won't bore you. It's a 2-week camping event up in Pennsylvania, and there's a market there. It's, think Renaissance Festival, but more so. There was a blacksmith there by the name of Chris Farrell. I believe he was on the second episode of Forged in Fire. And we got to talking several years. The first year that I took forging equipment with me for those 2 weeks, it was also the first year that I made a actual known steel, high carbon steel knife. And I'd seen the file test and all the other various methods, and it looked right, and I thought I'd done it, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go talk to this guy and say, hey, here's this knife, I've made it, I think it's hardened, but I don't actually know, firsthand what a good, positive file test sounds like. So I said, can you just check it and see if I did it right? And he took out a file, and he said, yeah, sure, Nope, that's not quite. But let me show you. So, turns his forge on. Do you mind? Is that all right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. That's fine. Yeah, no, don't worry. That's fine. Yeah. This is great. And proceeded to help me harden and heat treat the blade very quickly. It was great. Guy didn't know who I was. I was just some kid walking up to his booth and not buying any of his knives. But he took real time out of his day to talk to me, and 2 years later, he remembered me and wanted to see what I'd worked on. And I didn't actually have anything with me, but I did have my forging equipment again, and much improved. So in the next day or two, I went back and I threw together a knife real quick as best I could in the woods with no power tools. I showed it to him. He was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. So I said to him, well, yeah, I don't have any power tools with me or anything. It's a little unfinished. Mind if can I get a 15-minute apprenticeship so I can use your power tools? Because in the market they have electricity. And he's like, sure. Wait, really? Okay, cool. It was great. So that's one person who's had a huge effect on me, and frankly, everybody I've talked to in the community seems to be of that same kind of spirit. Oh, you do the thing too? Great! Let's help each other out. Wonderful. The second little story. A few years ago, my grandfather, my mom's dad, passed away. And before this and after, my mom was very into genealogy, and she, as sometimes you get because you don't want to lose that information, so she's finding out more about her family, the things that my grandfather could only answer those questions. And she ran into a Tim Suter, was a distant relative of mine, and offhand I do not recall the exact relation. It, goes back a few, and then it's a brother, and then I don't know. In any case, he was a union welder for his entire career, retired, and became a blacksmith for 30 years, which, he still is. He's about 90 now, and he can't do as much smithing, but we went up and visited, just because. It's like, oh, wow, cool. Well, when my mom had originally got in touch with them, I think when he was 87 or something like that, he was still making knives. And so I got to go up and talk to him. Now, Tim, unfortunately, has had a few minor strokes, mini strokes, I don't know. Point is, it's very difficult for him to talk. He's still all there, just it's really hard to get words out. It's a lot of effort, It was a very potentially awkward situation. We don't know each other at all, and it's difficult to communicate, but because we both knew about smithing, it was a breeze, honestly. We pulled out the big book of all the pictures of the work he'd made over the years, and give him a sec, he'd recover and say, oh, turn the page again, and I could point at something and say just enough about it, because I knew, oh, yeah, that's an air hammer that you're using there, or, oh, you made that out of, I can see that's a train spike, and that's is this, and, da-da-da-da-da, and give him just enough words that he could chime in with 2 or 3, and, tell me all about it, really. It was a really amazing experience getting to connect with somebody like that who I had no knowledge of up until a few years ago and had never met. And you could really see how it sort of lit his day up a bit, just to get to show off all this stuff and to talk with people about it. It was a very good experience. We're going back again. There's a place up in Jersey near where he lives called Fazio's, which is apparently the candy store, he called it, as far as metal and tool salvage and stuff. But close to the end of the day, I had one thing I hadn't shown him, which was a blank of a train spike knife sticking out of my pocket. I'd showed him a knife I was working on and some other stuff, a few pictures. But he spotted that, and I was like, oh, yeah, sure, here you go. And he checked it out, he's like, oh, yeah, that's very nice, all that. He didn't say those words, it was in his expression, and he said, would you like some more train spikes? Well, sure, yeah, actually, I'm almost out. And took me back to the shop where we had gone through and looked through his whole setup and all of that. And he had me pick up a rather large bucket entirely full of train spikes. He did have 2 or 3 others under it, so I guess, he's got plenty. But it was a very touching gesture. So I think I need to make something out of one in sort of the style. He made a lot of really neat, animals and lizards and stuff. Things aside from the standard spike knives and such that we've all seen so much of. I think I need to make something out of one of the spikes, and when I go back, just to be like, hey, you have inspired me. Your work has been educational and all of that. It was what by any right should have been an awkward and uncomfortable experience that was just easy and pleasant and interesting and inspiring and educational. And it was all due to a shared love of blacksmithing. So, those are my 2 stories. I hope you find that interesting. I'll put a link in for the playlist, just to make sure you can find it if you're interested. There's a lot of different people with a lot of different stories. That's all I've got to say before I just completely go off on a tangent, so thank you so much for watching. I've got some more cool stuff coming up, so stay tuned.